And people in Southern California are also dealing with another hazard, suffocating smoke containing harmful chemicals and toxic metals. And joining us to discuss the health risks is Dr. Alice Chen, founder and former executive director of Doctors for America. Welcome, Dr. Chen. I'm glad to talk with you about this because these clouds are carrying toxic smoke. They are traveling for miles around the LA basin. How can people in the region be safe, particularly when they're outside?
Thank you so much for having me. I've been in touch with friends and old colleagues from LA all through the week, and it's heartbreaking what's happening in LA. I know that everyone is worried about the smoke, and it's not just wildfire smoke, right? We have thousands and thousands of homes and businesses that have gone up in flames, releasing whatever toxins are in those places. And so there are a lot of things that people need to do to protect themselves from the smoke. Number one is to stay indoors as much as possible. Number two is to use an N95 mask or a KN95 if you don't have an N95. And it's important that when you're using that mask, you squish down that metal clipping on your nose so that there is a good seal. So when you're breathing in and out, you can see the mask moving in and out. That's how you know that you have a good seal. Making sure that your indoor quality is as good as possible, using a HEPA filter, making sure your filters are clean, reducing the amount of smoke that's in your home with not using candles, using your gas stove as little as possible. Don't vacuum if you don't have to, because that puts out dust into the air. Really try to keep your air as clean as possible.
So can issues of smoke or toxin inhalation, can they be treated at home? I mean, does it depend on the severity or if you have an underlying issue? Because I'm curious when someone should head to a doctor or the hospital.
Sure. So most people are going to be feeling a little bit wheezy. Your eyes are a little burning. Your throat's a little sore. That's not great, but it's okay. You can deal with that at home. Drink some hot water. Don't move around too much. Put eye drops in your eyes. You can deal with that. If you are feeling like you're having a lot of trouble, if you have an underlying health condition like asthma, like COPD, and you're having a lot of trouble breathing, you use your inhalers and they're not working, you're really using it all the time, that's the time to go to the emergency room and make sure that you're getting additional help. In addition to kind of the things that you might expect from smoke, we also see increased risk of heart attacks and strokes. Wow. When there is smoke in the air. And so really being sure that you're keeping vigilant of those effects, especially because people aren't sleeping, everyone is feeling anxious. So if you're feeling that crushing chest pain, if you're one side of your face is droopy, if grandma's only not making any sense, going to the emergency room is really important. If you have something that's not so urgent, don't go to the ER, don't clog it up, because there are people who really need it, who need to go.
What are the long-term effects of smoke inhalation? I'm curious, the warning signs to look out for that are serious, and can exposure create health issues that you may not see until down the road?
So the short answer is that we don't entirely know. The level of exposure to wildfires has skyrocketed in recent years because of climate change. And so we do not have a huge amount of data on what is the impact of a week or two of wildfire smoke exposure on your long-term health. What we do know is that there are impacts, of people who are exposed to a lot of air pollution. We know from other disasters that people who are exposed to a lot of air pollution might have increased risks of developing chronic lung disease in the future. There may be risks of cancer. We don't really know. Those are things that will need to be sorted out in the weeks and the months and years to come. But another important piece is also mental health. So the mental health impacts right now, there's a lot of anxiety. People who have an underlying mental health condition are probably feeling it even more strongly. Usually, people who have schizophrenia are more likely to have kind of exacerbations during these kinds of disasters. But the impacts on your mental health can go for months. They can go for years, especially if you've lost your home, especially if you've had to be evacuated and you've been in these very stressful situations. The most important thing in terms of that, it's important to seek help, but it's also, we've seen in other disasters that people who come from communities that really band together and really work together to try to, take care of each other and build back together are less likely to have those long-term mental health effects. So that's an important piece of resilience that is important to keep in mind.
Dr. Chen, you may not have been able to see this, but to the left of screen, we're watching live pictures, and we just saw an air tanker drop that bright red fire retardant. It's obviously chemical in nature, and look, you want it to be dropped, obviously. Are there any concerns, though, about that kind of retardant? Is that something that You want it on the fire, but you don't want it around people?
You do want it on the fire, and it is being dropped directly on the fire where hopefully everybody has gotten out. And so the risk from that fire retardant is definitely very much secondary to all that smoke and ash that is billowing, tens, hundreds of miles away. So that particulate matter from the fires is really the primary concern.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Alice Chen. Appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us and for all